Hey everyone, welcome back. We spent and will spend many years in these careers. I'm assuming, like me, each of you looked at these careers or looks at these careers as something that's very important to you. And leaving these careers, going out and doing something different, is probably a bit scary, a bit challenging, but it's going to be very rewarding. And so that's what brings us to this episode. Let's get into round 37 of the tactical transition tips. This time, the topic is develop a civilian mindset. For the close range group, those of you looking at your transition right away to say maybe a year from now, think less about rank and more about value. And for the medium range group, those of you looking at your transition 5 years, maybe a few less, few more, take some courses in emotional intelligence and conflict resolution. And for the long range group, those of you that got at least 10 years ahead of you, if not more, you're just starting your careers. Challenge your beliefs.
You transition out is try to model all of the good things, the discipline, the structure, that little bit of rigidity into your everyday life. And I think that that's a great way to make that transition happen, man.
Take the time to invest in yourself because it means everything. You know? That's what the difference is. The difference is not just to collect a check. It's to live 25 years, 30, 40 years after you retire and pay it forward that way.
Close range group. As you're approaching your transition, you've got to shift your thinking less about rank and more about your value. Granted, our ranks and titles have defined us through these careers. It's easy to feel like those are who we are, but they're just that. They're just titles. They're just ranks. You got to understand that in the civilian world, our ranks, our titles, those aren't what are going to sell us. They're not as important to your next employer. It's what your value is. What do you bring to the table? How do you make that next organization better? You have to be able to translate the skills of what we've done in these careers into what applies more to the civilian world. So they want to know, are you a problem solver? Are you going to be able to accomplish what's put in front of you? Do you have basic leadership skills? Can you lead a team? Are you going to persevere under pressure? All of those are things that we do on the daily, regardless of our rank. It's what these jobs force us to do. You have to translate that into how does your experience and your skill sets improve the organization that you're moving into. Focus on your value over your old rank. It's not the rank or the title that you had that makes you you. It's actually the opposite. You made the rank or the title you had better. So take that, translate that experience into what is going to be appealing and marketable to the next organization you're looking to get hired with. For those of you who've been in the law enforcement side of things, if you've handled complex investigations, if you've handled any investigation, that's project management. If you are in the military, say you were a jump master, you're a team leader. If you can't tell me that every responsibility you had as a jump master isn't about ensuring the success of a team, tell me what is. Obviously, military or first responder, if you've been in combat, if you've been directly involved in a large protest, riot, firefighters, you've been involved in a large scale wildfire, building fire, all of that translates to being calm under pressure, not failing or falling away from the objective of the mission. All of those things, instead of in an interview talking about, I was a jump master, you sell it as, I was a team leader. Just translate experiences into what they want to hear. Don't focus who you are, what makes you you, based upon what you used to be or who you used to be, in the sense of, don't sell it as, well, I was a sergeant, or I was a squad leader, or I was a captain. Sell it as, this is who I am, and this is how I made that rank better. This episode is brought to you by Trident Coffee, the veteran-owned brand where every sip inspires you to live life full steam ahead. I've been drinking their coffees for a while now, and I'm glad to partner with a company whose products I use. At Trident, they're more than just coffee. They're storytellers. Crafted by veterans, their instant cold brew is perfect for those who serve, those who have served, and anyone who values wellness. Featuring natural ingredients like organic mushrooms, adaptogens, and nootropics, it's more than just a morning pick-me-up. It's your new wellness ritual. Enjoy it at home or on the go, wherever your day takes you. Trident Coffee isn't just about great-tasting coffee. It's about empowering you to be the healthiest version of yourself, because great veterans make great citizens. Try their instant cold brew today, along with many other coffee products, and taste the freedom of wellness. Remember, when you choose Trident, you're not just choosing coffee. You're choosing a path of connection through health and wellness. Head on over to tridentcoffee.com and use the promo code TDP15 for 15% off your order. Again, that's TDP15 for 15% off your order. Medium range group. You need to take some classes on EQ, emotional intelligence, and conflict resolution. Like it or not, the civilian world is more about feelings, how people feel, how you make them feel, how the job makes them feel. Granted, in the 30 years that I was in law enforcement, I definitely started seeing a change in that mindset. The younger people coming into these jobs, into these careers, are already bringing that to this side of the table. So we're already experiencing a little bit. You've got a few years left before you're going to transition out. Maybe you won't see a huge change, but you have to admit you're already seeing that change. When you move into the civilian world, you need to be thinking a mindset that is more about empathy. You want to put yourself in the people that you work with's shoes. How do they see the world? How do they see the objective that needs to be completed? And how can you better help them accomplish that task, that objective, that mission, whatever word you want to use? The people you're going to work with, they haven't been, and I'll call it indoctrinated, whatever you want to refer to it as. We've learned in these careers, and it's what's taught to us from day one. It's not about us. It's about the person to our left and to our right. It's about accomplishing a task as a team. In the civilian world, that's not what's fostered. For the most part, you're going to find many more people that are me-driven. What does this do for me? How am I gaining benefit by being at work each day beyond a paycheck? There's a lot more of that feelings involved. Obviously, there's going to be a greater diversity of cultures, beliefs, all of that type stuff. on top of it, even in the next 3 to 5 years, you still might be walking into many organizations that might still have a culture that isn't necessarily the most pro or supportive of veterans and first responders. So understanding what you're going into is going to help you be more adaptable. When you are put into these new positions, I'll say this many times over, inherent natural leadership is what we bring to the table. It's instilled in us from the first day we start in these careers. And regardless of our rank, we have that inherent ability to be put in front of a group and take charge and be a leader. There's less on the civilian side, though, of just get it done. There's more of how, not necessarily how are you feeling, but there is that sense of embracing their feeling of the bigger picture. What needs to be accomplished and how do they feel as part of that or one of the cogs in that wheel. So you're engaging the emotional side of somebody who might be motivated to do the job, but sometimes they just don't see the bigger picture, or does the bigger picture feed their soul, their feelings, their inner person? So remember that as a leader, as a team member, it's not as much how do you feel working with them. And empathy and emotional intelligence isn't necessarily about your feelings per se. Granted, it's learning to identify and work within your feelings. But always remember, it's more important to be thinking about how do the other people around you feel? And how do you, by your actions, your words, your leadership style, your teammate style, impact the way they feel? You have to be mindful of conflict resolution as well. How do you personally right now deal with conflict? Are you somebody that is dig your heels in, stand your ground, don't give an inch? Or are you already somebody who's open to how the other person sees this conflict? Are you open to compromise? Or does it always have to be the way you want it to be? These are practices that you could be putting in place today over your next few years before you transition to help you work on this. Go out, though, and find courses on emotional intelligence. Find courses on conflict resolution. It's going to be something that's going to benefit you now, for sure, especially if you're already in a rank or title of leadership. But by forcing yourself to take some of these classes, even if you don't think that they're necessary, it's going to force you to see things differently, to think new ways, and possibly be open to, and I don't say possibly be open, you should be open to reevaluating how you deal with conflict. Take these classes, put what you learn into practice now, start changing your habits. And I'm not saying this because I'm just assuming that you don't deal with conflict well. I'm putting it from my perspective and knowing how I tended to deal with conflict, and know that I would definitely be somebody that, especially before I got into a leadership position, it was always kind of me first. So I'm throwing myself under the bus, but I'm assuming that my way of thinking probably isn't far off from many of you. So think about how you can improve who you are today and then carry that forward into the next job or organization that you're going to move into. These are soft skills. These aren't necessarily the hard skills that might go on a resume, but be sure to include the training, the specific training that you go to in your resume. It could be one of your skill sets that you would put down, but where I would definitely sell it is when you're sitting down and talking to somebody in an interview setting. Make sure you sell the fact that not only that you've gone to these training classes, you put these practices into place, you strive to resolve conflict by seeing all sides of the picture, seeing it from other people's view, engaging other people's opinions. All those little things will definitely help you when you make your transition out. But the thing to remember, most importantly, is focus on others. How are they feeling with what's going on, with what has to be accomplished, with what they're in conflict with? Whatever it is, think about it from their perspective and in their shoes, and how do they feel? And how do you utilize your ability to see and empathize with other people's feelings to make you a better teammate, to make you a better leader, and ultimately make the next organization better? This episode is brought to you by Soflete, a tactical fitness company founded by special operations soldiers. Soflete is dedicated to helping you achieve a healthy lifestyle. From expertly crafted training programs to high-quality proteins, pre-workouts, and sleep and recovery supplements, they've got everything you need to power through your day. Soflete also has a full line of clothing. They have you covered from shorts to cold weather gear. Embracing the motto, Die Living, Soflete inspires us all to embrace life with vigor and resilience. So take the first step towards a healthier you. Visit soflete.com. That's SOFLETE.com. And use the promo code TDP2024 to get 20% off your order. Again, that's TDP2024 for 20% off your order. Long range group. You got to challenge your beliefs. You have to start today and prepare yourself for how other people think, how other people see the world. I would highly recommend that you routinely put yourself in situations where you're having conversations with what I'll put in air quotes as the opposition. People that see the world in a different view set than you do. Whether it's religion, whether it's cultures, whether it's how work gets done. Don't insulate yourself with only people who resonate the way you think. Not necessarily because what you're thinking is wrong. It's just that it's about exposing yourself to other ways of thinking. I'm going to go out on a limb here and probably assume that all of us probably lean to the more conservative side of, basically from the middle towards the conservative side. Have the conversations with those people who are the middle to the left to get their viewpoint. Your beliefs don't have to align with them. You don't have to agree with everything that they say, but you have to be able to work with them. And we're seeing the change in these careers today. And for you that are just starting your careers and have a while to go, you're probably going to see more and more of this. Embrace it. Try to make yourself better by being able to acknowledge somebody else's beliefs and not just simply say, oh, the way you're thinking is wrong. Everybody's got a different opinion. Be open to how other people see theirs or have their opinions. Don't go into these conversations I'll call it the training process. You don't have to go in with the mindset that you need to change your beliefs to match theirs, nor do you need to change their beliefs to match yours. You're simply trying to learn, and you're simply trying to force yourself to broaden your belief barriers, so to speak, and just be open to seeing how other people might see the world. You're going to be moving into a different world at your transition. Hopefully it happens as you plan it 20, 30 years down the road, whatever it is. But the thing you want to focus on today and the thing that you want to make yourself marketable in your next venture is your adaptability. Your ability to understand that others may have different thoughts and beliefs than you. But how do you work with those people? Are you able to coexist and be an effective, viable teammate or team member? Or do you constantly have negative energy because you might be in a group of people, one other person, whatever it is, who thinks differently than you? Learn to work around it. You're never going to succeed in any position. Leadership, as a team member, as an employee of another company, if you're dismissive of other people around you, other people that you work with, especially if you think you're going to walk into a different culture and be dismissive of the entire organization, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to last long at whatever job that is. You can try and resist and say to yourself, why do I have to be the one to see things differently? Or why do I have to be the one, don't take it this way, but perceiving yourself as, why do I have to change? You don't. You can resist this all you want. You could dig your heels in and say, my way of thinking is 100% correct. There's no reason for me to see any other perspectives. You have to say to yourself, though, what's more important to you? Is being able to transition and find that next career that benefits you and your family long term? Then maybe you do need to be a little more compliant. Or if you are very staunch in your beliefs and that's the path that you want to go on, then spend the next 10, 15, 20 years seeking those companies that are at least going to be closer or closely aligned with the way you think and believe. There may not be as many available to you if you're more adaptable and can work in different environments. You got to make that decision. I have already said this. The world is changing, both on the civilian side and in our worlds. And those of you that are looking a few years ahead of you, a decade or more, you're going to start seeing those changes more and more on this side of the fence. If you think that's not going to happen, you're fooling yourself. And I would say that you're going to be in for a rude awakening. So going forward, focus on your ability to collaborate. Be an effective team member within the organization. Don't be so wrapped up in how somebody else thinks, and especially if it's completely different or varied from the way you think. Be open-minded and understand that they're them and you're you. Have your beliefs, let them have their beliefs, and figure out a way to work in the middle. So in wrapping this up, close range group. You need to be thinking about the value you bring over the rank that you had. It's not who you were. It's what can you do today for this company. For the medium range group, emotional intelligence and conflict resolution. It's not always what you need or what you want out of something. Sometimes you got to put yourself in other people's shoes and realize what do they need or what do they want out of the situation. And for the long range group, you got to challenge your beliefs. You got to be the consummate team player. Take the skills and experiences that you're learning now and be that leader by example. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen or watch, however you're getting this podcast. Please help me grow this podcast by subscribing to it, following it, leaving a comment, a rating, share it with somebody else. All those little things I'm greatly appreciative of. And I would ask that If you're enjoying this, you've got to know somebody else that's enjoying it as well. And until the next time, our ranks open the door. They will get us into a lot more situations of potential job offers and job opportunities than you realize. But it's our skills that are going to keep us employed at those companies.